After World War II, you still had a lot of the adventure strips that had begun before the war in newspapers. You had crime-fighting heroes like Dick Tracy and his weird villains. Flash Gordon, Tarzan, the Phantom, Terry and the Pirates. Military life continued in Sad Sack, which began during the war, and Beetle Bailey. You had storybook illustration of Prince Valiant, and you had illustrated weird facts in Ripley's Believe It or Not. Down south in Dogpatch, you had the hillbillies of Little Abner. In Okefenokee Swamp, you had Pogo, a possum. And the urban cartoons of Jules Feiffer. But after the war, people were starting families, thinking about children a lot. So you had refugee boy Dondi. You had Dennis the Menace. You had Nancy. There was a wordless cartoon about a boy named Henry, and the most successful cartoon with a gang of little kids, Peanuts. Single panel cartoons that started appearing on the comics page were Marmaduke, about a dog, Hazel, about a maid, and Family Circus. Maury Turner's Wee Pals brought back the idea of multiracial, multicultural neighborhood of children. And Calvin and Hobbes was the fantasies of a boy and his pet tiger. This backdrop is Calvin from an exhibition at one of the libraries in Saginaw. In the 1970s, Doonesbury spoke about the life of boomers, the sort of the generation of the first years of Saturday Night Live. Women did more comics about their life. Sylvia, middle-aged cynic. Kathy, by Kathy Goosewhite of Midland. and her exasperation. And Linda Barry's odd tales of her childhood, of everybody's childhood. Now, her husband, Matt Groening, had a comic called Life in Hell. He was approached by television producers to turn it into a show. He didn't want to lose his characters, so he came up with a new set of characters, a family called The Simpsons. Both Life in Hell and Linda's Ernie Pooks comic appeared in alternative papers, entertainment papers, often free. Other cartoons that appeared in those include L.A. Cucaracha by Lalo, excellent Mexican-American cartoonist, and Michigan's own Lloyd Dangle doing Trouble Town for 22 years. I wish it was still going in our strange political time. About 1990 in California, an engineer friend who worked for Pacific Bell, the phone company, said, "Mike, there's this guy in Pac Bell who's doing a cartoon. You gotta see it." The cartoon was Dilbert. And the artist, engineer Scott Adams soon quit his day job because Dilbert succeeded nationally, and it might be called the last great newspaper cartoon that appeared in mainstream newspapers. But if you like your cartoons on pulpy paper, don't fret. This paper has been coming out of Flint for the past few years. So there's still folks who look for their comics in the newspaper.